Hello, my name is Aaliyah.
And my name is Teshel.
And today we're going to be interviewing the premier.
Honorable Charles Washington Mizik.
Honorable Washington Mizik, we have a few questions for you. Are you ready?
I am ready. Thanks.
Okay.
Good to see you, girls.
Me too.
Our first question is, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, my aunt asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I decided I wanted to do something with numbers, either accounting or to become an economist. But my first job was a police officer.
Okay. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
If I would have any superpower, what it would be and why? If I had superpower, I want to be more than one place at a time. And I would want to do that because there's so much more I would be able to do.
So teleportation?
What's that?
Teleportation?
Yes, teleportation. Yes, that would probably be better than being omnipotent.
Okay. Our third question is, what is your favorite food your mom had made when you were a kid?
Well, I grew up in North Cape, right? And as long as I could remember, I was a fish eater. I always loved fish. Whether it was served with bread or grits or rice. And to this day, that's my favorite dish.
Okay. If you could trade jobs with any famous person for a date, who would it be and why?
Well, I'm in my dream job. So I don't think I would want to trade job with anyone. I can't think of anybody who I would want to trade job with. I think the job that I do is fulfilling. It gives me an opportunity to impact the lives of people, and I wouldn't. And it's real. It's not a fantasy job, so I wouldn't want to trade it.
Okay. What is your favorite part about being the premier?
You know, my favorite part about being the premier, I indicated earlier, is when being a premier, being a leader, a particular political leader, puts one in a position to make policy. When I make policy and I can see it positively impacting people's lives, you know, like if it's education, for example, and it means more kids get to go to school, or it means in the case of a program that we have coming up now, that the nutritional program for kids at school who are unable to be guaranteed a balanced meal. So I am driven by social outcomes that improve people's lives. So yeah, that's when people walk up to me and say, "Thank you. This program really helped me, or that program really helped me." That's what gives me a great satisfaction.
That's nice. Do you prefer cake or ice cream?
Ice cream, of course.
Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck?
Daffy Duck.
The Jetsons or the Flintstones?
Flintstones.
Fish or conch?
Fish.
North Caicos or Provo?
North Caicos, definitely.
Peas and rice or okra and rice?
Okra and rice.
Comedy or action movies?
Comedy.
Okay, that's it.
What's your favorite island food and why?
I've indicated earlier as grits, fish and grits. That's my favorite. I grew up in North Caicos. My parents were subsistence farmers. We grew our own corn, so we made grits. And of course, fish was in abundance, more so than today. And we didn't have like a lot of meat. We grew chicken and pigs, but we didn't have you couldn't go to a supermarket and buy steak or chicken. So it was a lot easier to you could almost go down to the waterfront and throw your line out and leave the frying pan on. And by the time it got hot, you had a fish. So it was easy.
What's the most interesting place you have visited since becoming premier?
Well, one of the most interesting places I visited, I have a daughter who lives in Belgium. It's not my first time to Belgium, but the part of Belgium that she lived in, I found it very interesting. I went there for a weekend. This was, of course, a private visit, but it happened last year before last. And I enjoyed walking through the sort of forest, if you like. And it was springtime, so it was beautiful.
Okay. What's your favorite joke or funny story to tell?
I don't know if I have a favorite, but I don't think I have a favorite. I find that for me, it's sort of impromptu. I'm told I'm witty rather than funny. So I kind of react to stories and events as they happen. And it just comes from the gut. It just comes naturally. So I don't, there are old jokes when I was growing up that when I get together with the guys I grew up with and we kind of recount the old days. But I don't have any special jokes that I tell. I like to get into a conversation, and as the conversation moves along, things come to mind, and you either react through wit or you tell a joke or humor. They go together.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you talk about?
Well, if I could resurrect Martin Luther King and have dinner with him, I would, because I happen to have come along in the era when, in the mid to late 60s, when the whole transition from the whole transition to a more sort of acceptance or change, a more equitable, less overt racism in the United States, and actually had a reverberating effect across the world. And my heroes would be, I would probably want to have a meal with Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Martin Luther King, all at the same time. They are my heroes.
Okay. What's your favorite childhood memory that still makes you smile?
My favorite, as I said, I grew up in North Caicos, and I spent a lot of time on the water fishing, and my favorite childhood memory was when I caught my biggest fish. My brother, I don't know if you know my brother Ariel, who's a lawyer, next to me. We were fishing in a boat one night, and he was never really a very outdoorsy kind of person back then. So we were fishing, and he was lying down in the bottom of the boat, and we're fishing, and I caught this huge pocket snapper. It was the biggest fish I ever caught, and I had to wake him up so I don't throw the fish on him, because he was lying on the boat, in the bottom of the boat. And when I got home, my mom was so proud of me, because and she just went crazy. Because again, it was the biggest fish I ever caught. And life in North Caicos those days was simple. The simple stuff that really mattered. It wasn't all the fancy TV shows. And in fact, when I grew up, we didn't have TV. We didn't even have electricity. So those were. We did a lot of stuff outdoors, and interacted with friends and people. Unlike today, where we could be sitting next to each other and communicating on the gadgets rather than face to face like how we're doing now.
Did you have a pet as a child? If so, what was its name?
Oh, I did have a pet as a child. I had a cat, and her name was Miss Tibbs. You've heard that name before, haven't you? Actually, Miss Tibbs was the name of a cat in one of the, I think it was a Caribbean reader that we used for our reading, as part of our reading exercise at school. But I have a cat called Miss Tibbs. And the reason why we had cats rather than dogs is because my parents, as I said earlier, were subsistence farmers and we grew corn. And you know, where there's corn, there'll be rats, right? So we grew corn and we would store corn in the house. And so we had more than one cat, but my favorite was Miss Tibbs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are welcome. Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.